lovelies, it's Sundal from Substance Over Style and welcome to a new video. So I wanted to do a video discussing some of the themes and topics that have been brought into the public conversation since this whole incel revolution has begun. Not that they're actually, we're talking about it, we're having a conversation about it, but there's no revolution. But yeah, I thought now would be the perfect opportunity because I'm just in bed and I've got a castor oil pack on my belly right now. And if you've never done castor oil packs, they're really good for like detoxing the liver, which I'm particularly interested in at the moment because the liver is where your emotional body basically manifests any stored anger, any stored rage gets stored in the liver. This is information that my friend Laura, who is Cherry Vitality on Instagram, you should look her up. She's an amazing health coach. She's super knowledgeable about the kind of emotional, physical connection and how emotions get kind of manifest in disease in the body. So ever since she told me that, I've been trying to detox the liver. I've also done Andreas Moritz liver and gallbladder flush, which, if you guys, have a lot of built up toxins in your liver from drinking or just from sort of unhealthy thoughts and belief systems, and you're storing a lot of anger, maybe from traumas and stuff like that, definitely have a look into that liver cleanse. But it's just very, very intense, and I've done it twice already, and I don't really fancy doing it at the moment. So I thought I'd try a castor oil pack, but I'll do a separate video where I discuss liver cleansing. If you want to see that, leave me a comment and let me know if that's something that interests you. I'll do a separate video. But yeah, talking about incels, watched a couple of YouTube videos on this whole bizarre movement, and yeah, unbelievably, I didn't even realize that this was a thing, and that there's so many men and women, I'm sure, but like specifically men suffering because they can't get laid. Now, I do feel sorry for them, but at the same time, some of the attitudes that have been displayed by a lot of them are extremely worrying. They're obviously not in alignment with anything that's good or moral. A lot of them hate women. It's extreme misogyny. A lot of them have been talking about doing, perpetrating violence against women, either sexual violence or physical violence. And it's no wonder that they can't get laid. Now, I understand that I might be confusing cause and effect here, that, maybe they didn't start off with these attitudes. Maybe these attitudes developed over time as a result of not being able to have success with women. But at the same time, I mean, there's several issues that we're looking at here. One of them is the main one that that a lot of people have brought up is entitlement, and particularly male entitlement over women's bodies, and male not even. I mean, the incel revolution is just, it's an extreme example of a much bigger problem that we see in society, even with men who aren't involuntary celibates, who have slept with women, who have had relationships. Will still feel entitled to female attention, even. Not just, having sex with women, but they just, when we live in a world in which women's bodies are used as commodities to sell products, female sexuality, I've said this before in my videos, female sexuality is super powerful. It's the source of all creation, If you haven't read a book called The Great Cosmic Mother by Monica Sue and Barbara Moore, you definitely should. I'll put a link in the description box below, not before. You have a read of it. It's really interesting. It goes into a lot of sort of ancient cultures and their creation stories. And as it turns out, before the advent of the Abrahamic patriarchal religions, God was always, or goddess rather, was always perceived as female. You know, the creatrix is female. She birthed the entire universe because the creative force is feminine. So that's one of the reasons why female sexuality is so powerful, because it can create life, it can manifest things, and it is through the sexual union between the masculine and the feminine, which doesn't necessarily mean a man and a woman. It can also be, you know, between gay and lesbian partners, but through that polarity of the masculine and feminine, and in sacred sexual union, you can actually experience God consciousness. You can experience source energy. And that is why, you know, as a society, we're so obsessed with sex, because deep down on a very primal level, we know that. And the female sexuality is, for a man, a very powerful portal to experiencing the divine. So, you know, that's why our bodies are used to advertise everything from, you know, I've said this before, from toothpaste to water to cars and everything. And women are kind of used, since the suppression of the sacred feminine, which I've talked about in previous videos. Our sexuality has been completely disconnected from our other aspects, like our intuition and our wisdom and, you know, all of those beautiful feminine qualities. And it's just been cheapened and demeaned and diminished and used as some kind of means that a man can acquire status in the world. So if a man can't get laid or can't get a girlfriend, then he has no status in the world. And, you know, women, the way that we award status to women is generally by their beauty, their sexuality, how many guys want to fuck them, basically. So from the incel perspective, you know, or even just the, you know, the red pillars, and I kind of take exception to them basically taking this archetype about, you know, so you swallow the red pill and then you know the truth, and the truth is that women run the world. From a certain perspective, they do have a point, because the female sexuality is very powerful. And when women actually step into that power and understand the power that we have to influence society just by, you know, in the way that we raise children, you know, ancient matriarchal cultures knew this. That's why they were matriarchal. That's why our societies were matriarchal, because of the power of female influence. So on a certain level, the red pillars understand this certain truth, which, you know, I think a lot of feminists have somehow missed, because they kind of talk about the patriarchy, which, you know, I'm going to use different language to describe. For me, the patriarchy translates to suppression of the feminine. But I've lost my train of thought. But I think I said some other good things, so that's fine. What was I saying? I might have to rewind. Can I get a rewind? Okay, so yeah, talking about entitlement. When you are, say for example, you're an incel. If you are approaching a woman with an attachment to the outcome, i.e., with the express intention of only getting sex from her, you're not going to be able to manifest that. That is like so manifestation 101. You cannot have attachment to the outcome. If you're approaching, it's not even manifest. Even if you're not into, if you don't understand how the law of attraction works, even just basic psychology will tell you that if you want something from somebody, if you approach somebody with an expectation of getting something from them without there being a mutually beneficial energy exchange, you're never going to be successful. So if these incels, or just men in general, are and you know, a lot of men unfortunately are afflicted with this, they're approaching women with the express outcome of being able to sleep with them, without actually wanting to get to know them as a person, without any specific attachment to any outcome. Just like, oh, she looks nice, she looks interesting, she looks attractive, I'm attracted to her, I want to get to know her, I want to know more about who she is as a person. Like, if you approach women with that level of respect, then you're more likely to be successful, especially with these incels, as they are generally approaching Stacey's. They're generally approaching high status women. Now, yeah, so that's kind of entitlement. I might say more on that at another point, but I want to kind of move on a little bit to this whole Stacey Chad idea. I need this little chart. Where is it? I'm going to put up an image here. Yes, okay. So, okay, I will firstly credit the originator of this chart. This is not my work. This is Mark Passio. If you're not familiar with Mark Passio's work, you need to check this dude out because he's really, really amazing, like talking about masculine, feminine energy and just truth in general. A lot about occult symbolism, and I've learned a lot from him, so definitely check him out. So here we're talking about the alpha versus the beta, male and female. So what we might describe as the Stacey or the Chad. But what a lot of these kind of, meninist communities, men's rights communities, and MGTOW and all that kind of stuff will talk about. They'll talk about being an alpha male rather than a beta male. But what they fail to understand is this column here on the right, which is the true spiritual alpha, male or female, okay? So here we've got what is commonly understood to be the alpha male, which is the inauthentic alpha male, which is in the middle column at the bottom. Now, this is generally a left brain imbalanced individual, and it's very super common for people in the world to be left brain imbalanced. I myself am slightly left brain dominant because of suppression of the female right brain, intuitive, emotional, creative hemisphere of the brain. So this is what produces a dominator. This is what produces somebody who's quite aggressive, who's quite over logical, over rational, over scientific, competitive, and generally just what we understand to be typical alpha masculine qualities, but are actually very far removed from the proper balanced spiritual alpha. And they are, as you can see in the table, conditioned to desire the alpha female, which is a dominator type, a left brain imbalanced female. If they cannot succeed with the dominator type alpha female, because this is the female which is basically held up as the ideal, it's the Stacey, and the inauthentic alpha is the Chad. If they cannot be successful with the dominator type alpha, which often they cannot be, because there's too much, there's basically a power struggle between these two characters, then they will end up in a relationship with a beta female who is a more submissive type, often a right brain imbalanced female. And, as I said before, the right brain is the female, the more feminine, intuitive, emotional. When you're right brain imbalanced, that's not a good thing. So I'm not saying that femininity is better than masculinity at all, okay? You can be right brain imbalanced, and that produces a lot of passivity and slave type thinking. And it allows you to, it's kind of what's at the root of codependency. So the Stacey, the inauthentic alpha female, I've talked about before, is kind of this kind of toxic feminine type character. You can also say that the inauthentic beta female is also toxic feminine, because she's actually the true toxic feminine, because she's the toxic feminine as in the right brain, whereas the inauthentic alpha female Stacey is actually embodying a lot of toxic masculinity. but just in a female body. Now, the inauthentic beta male, who we're conditioned to think is the nice guys, they're actually right brain imbalanced. And as you can see, both the inauthentic betas, male and female, will often end up in more successful on the surface relationships with the alpha and with the alpha male or the alpha female, kind of going across the beta male with the alpha female and the beta female with the alpha male, because the beta will acquiesce to the domination of the alpha. If we want to spiritually evolve, we have to release the conditioning and start embodying the true spiritual alpha, either man or women. And this is the challenge. And I'll be the first to admit it is challenging to do this. I'm on that journey. There's so much conditioning around us that it is very difficult to rid ourselves from a lot of this conditioning, just everywhere, from the media, from advertising. I mean, I myself, if you look at my Instagram, I'm not immune to a lot of this, social conditioning, this idea that, women need to look a certain way, that they need to use the way that they look to gain status in the world. It's so deeply hardwired into us that it's very, very difficult to decondition ourselves. It involves transcending the ego, and the ego will do anything to kind of to hold on to these belief systems, because in a way they do actually protect us, and they help us navigate this kind of control matrix that we're living in. Okay, and now the third point that I wanted to make about incels, and this can also be kind of expanded outwards to include anybody who is not able to enjoy success in dating and relationships, is a lack of self-love. These people are suffering massively from a lack of self-confidence, a lack of self-esteem, and a lack of self-love. There was a really interesting video I stumbled across. I'll put a link in the description box below to it. If I forget, you can search for it on YouTube. It is Incels Are Not Ugly. It was pretty amusing, actually. This guy trawled the incel forums expecting to see, some real trolls. And he found this one thread where they'd basically posted up pictures of them and asked each other to rate them. And surprisingly, some of them were actually extremely good looking. Like, one or two of them actually looked like they could have been male models. I'm not exaggerating. Go and take a look at the video and you'll see some of them are pretty attractive. So it's not because of how they look that they're not experiencing success with women. It's simply their attitude. It's their entitlement, as I said before. And secondly, well, obviously their misogyny. Their level of misogyny is really not going to attract any women to them. But also because of a lack of self-love and a lack of self-confidence. So this is really, really key. I mean, every single dating coach out there will talk about, you want to manifest love in your life, you have to first embody self-love, because what we understand love to be is so far from what love actually really is. If you have never experienced a heart-centered awakening or a Kundalini awakening, then you're unlikely to have experienced what true love, that vibrational frequency, actually feels like. It's pure oneness, it's pure bliss. It does feel, there is a sexual element to it as well, because it does feel like being on the plateau of an orgasm, or it feels quite orgasmic. But it is nothing like what we currently understand love to be, in the kind of current paradigm of relationships that we have on this planet, which is a lot of the time about control, about possession, about this power dynamics. Real love is about non-judgment, accepting people as they are, and it's something that we have yet to witness on this planet. But we can come close to, calling in a sacred partnership when we start to embody real unconditional love, which has to start from the inside. It has to start with love for yourself. And this is it's very key, and everybody will talk about it. A lot of dating coaches will talk about it. Even the ones that aren't particularly spiritual, the ones who just kind of work with psychology, they won't necessarily use the term self-love, but they will talk about working on yourself, personal development, and focusing on yourself rather than focusing on, another person that you're interested in or something like that. Because it's only when you have got your own life going on and you're good to yourself and you treat yourself well and you have strong boundaries and you know who you are, what you're looking for, and what you will and will not accept, you're not going to be able to manifest any kind of relationship, whether it's one that lasts a few hours or one that lasts years and years. I mean, when I use the word relationship, I mean like a romantic relationship, a love relationship. As I understand, there's all different kinds of relationships, like friendships and business partnerships. That's not what I'm talking about in this context. And obviously, the incels have missed a massive trick by kind of bringing everything down to the base level where they just want to get laid rather than actually call in a genuine, emotionally intimate partnership. But some of them do. If you've looked at any of the forums, a lot of them are really, really want a girlfriend rather than just want to get laid. So it is, the term incel kind of, applies a sort of blanket statement that they're just trying to get laid. But I think a lot of them are genuinely looking for love, but they're looking for it in the wrong places, and they're never going to find it because they've got this sense of entitlement that if you don't give me love, I will hate you, women, you fucking bitches who rule the world. And there is a lot of resentment towards women because they see how we use our sexuality as they perceive against them, because it's just like, and this is one of the things that feeds into rape culture, that, oh, look, you're enticing us with your beauty and with your seductiveness, and now, stop showing us what we can't have. And so there's this resentment and this hostility. So, again, it comes back to this idea that everything that women do and everything that women are is for male attention and is for male approval. Whether that's true or not, we can discuss in another video, because like with anything, I like to go really deep with these things. So yeah, I can do another video on that. If you want to see that video, then leave me a comment. As always, I love your comments, as long as they're respectful and add some interesting thoughts to the conversation. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your network if you feel like they would benefit from this information. And I will love you and leave you. I've got to remove my castor oil pack now. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, guys. One love.
You've taken some other drug, like for instance, like marijuana or something. Well, it's an altogether new thing. And you actually